Action.
It was Thanksgiving, 1996, when it all happened. We were having this great Thanksgiving dinner, my 5 children sitting around and about to have dessert and talk about all those old stories we always had fun telling about when they were little. When my daughter pushes her chair back, stands up, and makes this announcement. She said, "Well, I want everybody to know I'm dropping out of college." This was the last semester, and now she's dropping out of college. I lost it. I went into an emotional rant. I told her things that I would never want to say to my child, who I would take a bullet for in a minute. But there it was. She left angry and about to walk out the door, looked at me and said, "Mom, I never want to see you again." Well, I looked at my husband and I said, "What are we going to do with her?" And he said, "No, honey, what are we going to do with you?" Because it wasn't the first time it had happened. I was frantic. I didn't know what to do with myself. But I knew if I didn't do something, it would happen again. It was a lifelong pattern I was in. And I realized I could use the education I have, because the ironic thing was I had a PhD in family relationships, and I advised parents every day how to handle their relationships with their children. And here I was, not able to take that and apply it to myself. So I began to look at the research, and I began to study the brain, because I had a background in neuroscience. And I thought, how do I change my brain to get it right? How do I fix myself? And I found there were 3 key points to that. The first step would be to define your patterns. And mine was that I'd been storing up anger, and then it was uncontrollably would come out. But the second step was I had to take some time, and I had to figure out a methodology to getting the anger out that I'd stored up all these years. And then the third step would be a lobotomy. No, it would be to rewire my brain in some way with new thoughts. And so I began to work really hard on this, and I realized I was making progress when my daughter comes back. Now, given she needed the credit card back, so it could have been other reasons she came back. But as I was working so hard, she did stop one day and ask me, she said, "Mom, what are you doing? You seem like you're different." And I shared with her the steps of the process, and she looked at me and she said, "I want to take that process." And I said, "Why would you do that?" And she says, "Well, because I don't want to be old like you before I get my shit together." Well, I know you're wondering, where are we now? And now I live, some 25 years later, I live close to my daughter, and by invitation, I've been asked to help her parent so that those generational patterns of how to use anger in hurtful ways will not be repeated with my grandchildren. My message to you today is, don't wait until something bad like that happens, because words you can't take back. But you can do something, and it is you that has to change first. You have to be the leader in getting your act together before your children will ever change. It really is all up to you. Okay.